Good morning, all. We are live on YouTube, and we are going to bring in our Facebook groups here real quick. Atlanta Falcons fans on All Falcons and Scott Kennedy Sports. Both of those are on Facebook. Check them out if you haven't already. If you're looking for another place to follow, Facebook's doing a good job of incentivizing content providers. So check it out because I'll be doing a lot more stuff over there as well. And good morning, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast, the day after, the morning after, so to speak. Not quite the gut reaction. You get a little time to sleep on it and think about how you want to, how you feel about the previous game. And no, it's never any fun losing to the Saints. There's always positives to take away from this game, of course. 21-18, they were down 14 quick. It was one of those, okay, this could get ugly, or what's going to happen? And the defense started to show up, put a little pressure on it. The Saints started making a couple of mistakes, turnover here and there. The big story for me coming in, and I think for most of us coming into this game, was Desmond Ridder, rookie quarterback. How is he going to play and how is he going to look? We will get into that. We will get into some players. We'll talk a little bit about personnel and how does this happen? You know, you start off 5-6, and now you've lost 4 straight. Where is this team going? What's up with Arthur Smith? Dean Peace, hope he's feeling better. I know he took a shot. So we will get into all of that as we get going. But first off, let's say good morning to some folks in the chat. Michael Ranquillo was in here nice and early. Michael, good morning. He says, good morning, Scott and Nick on the Falcons podcast. Nick should be joining us here shortly, out from Seattle. A little early for him. So we give him just a couple extra minutes to sleep in. But Michael's over in Tucson, Arizona. So good morning. And Shane Sargent coming in on YouTube as well. He says, I felt like Smith could have eased Ritter into the game a little bit better with shorter, quicker passes. We haven't had great offensive line play in New Orleans for a while, no matter the quarterback, though. Yeah, ask Cam Jordan, Shane. I agree with you. You know your ball. Cam Jordan has feasted. A lot of folks have feasted on the Atlanta Falcons through the years. Let's be honest, though. Let's look at Jameis Winston's splits. And how he has played against. I think he's got 108 quarterback rating in like 9 starts against the Atlanta Falcons. It's something crazy. But yeah, you're correct on this one. The defensive line, and there's a defensive lineman I wanted to call out as a possible free agent pickup from the New Orleans Saints. He was big number 96, Carl Granderson. He looked really good to me. So I look him up. He is under contract for 1 more year. But he has a 0 dead cap next season and a $4.1 million cap charge. So that when you play fast and loose with the salary cap, like the New Orleans Saints like to do, they start looking for places they can save money against the cap. Bingo. There you go. Now they might try and convert that salary into a signing bonus and try and re-sign him. But if I had an app with an alert on possible free agents as guys that I would keep an eye on as maybe cap casualties, I'd throw $5 million Carl Granderson's way to come in and play on this defensive line. I really liked the way he played. But yeah, the defensive line is always the Saints. It's been a rough stretch against the Saints. Let's be honest. Since Sean Payton took over, it has. Mark Lindemood coming in. He says, "Howdy, Scott. Good morning." Good morning to you as well. Hope you're doing well. And Joe Cannon, always one of our supporters coming in. He says, great morning, fellas. He's one of our first over on Facebook coming in and give us a like. So thank you for doing that, Joe, and helping to spread the good cheer. We call this Christmas week. If this is the week of football, to me, the week begins on Monday. In football, this is what, week 16? Christmas Day is on Sunday. I think this is Christmas week, if you ask me. And who else I'm going to ask is Nick Kendell. Nick is joining us this morning from Seattle. So I'm in Atlanta, in a frosty Atlanta this morning. I think it's in the 20s, dropping down into the teens this week. That's cold no matter where you are. Nick is in Seattle, so we are coast to coast. Nick, how are you doing this morning, my friend?
I'm doing okay. Enjoying the victory Monday for my Broncos. Not to rub it in, but in dire straits with my Iowa Hawkeyes. Sounds like we're going to lose our number 1 recruit of all time to Alabama 2 days before signing day because they gave him about $4 million. So pretty damn bummed about that. And that's the nature of this. But I don't know where this whole college football with the NIL is going, but I feel like Iowa is just going to be a developmental program for bigger dogs to take away, and no benefit of that, at least in like a soccer, somebody's going to give you a fat bag to take away your players that you developed. In college football, it's just going to be the middle finger.
Yeah, they're and that's where promotion and relegation comes in. Maybe you can, you set up tiers where you're competing where you're supposed to. Let the big money teams compete in one group, and when they flop, you drop them down a level. That's a whole different discussion. The SEC is for years outbid teams, in the Big Ten. It's just now they're open and honest about it. So, what do you expect? No, I'm teasing a little bit. But this is one of those again where you get to see some of the young players, coming in and seeing Desmond Ridder. I'm listening to I listen to the game and then watch the replay. And it's one of those, it's like rookie Tyler Algier, rookie quarterback Desmond Ridder, throwing to rookie wide receiver Drake London. I'm like, guys, again, what are we expecting here? And then we go over to the offense and I'm like, number 90, who the hell's number 90? He's not even on the roster. Oh, that was Jaleel Johnson, who was just nabbed off a practice squad after he was cut off our practice squad and then re-signed onto our practice squad. It's like, Timmy Horn, undrafted free agent starting at nose guard, in the men's league. It's tough. This roster, it's down to $92 million in active salary on a possible like 210. This loss, you never want to lose the Saints. It sucks the day after. Yeah. Man, finishing 5-12 might be the best thing that could happen to this freaking team. And get a high pick. This isn't a competitive team. Play well, develop the young guys. Let them, I love watching Tyler Algier. I want to see Desmond Ridder do well. I want to see Drake London do well. I want to see Arnold McKetty. I want to see Troy Anderson. I want to see Richie Grant keep progressing. I want to see all those guys play well. And if they lose, okay. Next year. It really starts next year, Nick.
Yeah, and it was nice to see. I mean, even though it ended on a poor note, the rapport and the peppering of targets to Drake London from Desmond Ridder in this game. Obviously, the fumble at the end is bad, and it was nice to see Desmond Ridder run up to Drake London after that, console him, kind of showing if Desmond Ridder isn't the guy, I think he's going to be a very good presence in the locker room and a really good backup. A poor game from him overall. But you're right. I mean, this is a team that when they were competitive was a year early. Some of it is the circumstances of the NFC South as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
who they're not beating, the only teams they're beating are in the NFC West.
Yeah, which
so I think they got one win against the NFC South right now. So that's not an excuse.
Yeah, but if you were in the AFC West and chasing like a 2-loss Chiefs
I know
team,
they're still in it.
Out.
They're only a game out of a playoff spot, which is still true.
Yeah,
at 5-9. They're still only a game out. And Dana Miller coming in on YouTube says, "Good morning, everyone. I'm not sold on the offensive play calling." And Dana, again, I look at this, and your top target's a rookie. Your quarterback's a rookie. Your number 2 receiver was a number 5 last year. You're on your at least second tight end with Michael Pruitt and Kyle Pitts is out, who's still a 21, 22-year-old kid. I'm not going to judge the play calling based on what's available right now. This team got off to a competitive start, fooling us by overachieving and like, okay, maybe. And then you're like, no, this is still a team with $90 million on the field and gaping holes in their depth chart. And when you start losing a player here or there, it starts to show. I mean, the loss of Casey Hayward in the secondary has been big. The loss of Taquan Graham, who we weren't even expecting to be as good as he was, has been big for this team because now you're rotating guys in there. But you did say offense, okay? You did say offense. And Shane started off in that, and that was a good point. So I wanted I kind of glossed over that. He said, Shane said earlier, he said, I felt like Smith could have eased Ritter into the game with a little better, shorter, quicker passes. And I agree. He handled Mariota with kid gloves. And all of a sudden, here comes Ritter out there, chucking it deep a lot. So it was, I wrote in my notes, I'm like, this was almost of an overcorrection. And some of that may have been reads on Ritter. I want to have a deep read on just about every play. So how much of that's on Ritter trying to do too much too early because he is a rookie quarterback making his first start. Would have been nice if he had started. This has been a 4th start, if you ask me, Nick.
Yeah, but here we are, and Falcons overall, the pass game didn't really work out that well. I mean, I'm looking at the stats here. 3 yards per pass attempt is an unbelievably poor number. Abysmal, yeah, compared to the Saints with 10. It was really the ground game. And talking about I don't like the design of the offense, I think the reason the offense didn't look so good is because this is a Falcons team. when they're at their best, is playing either a close game or with a lead. This is a team that wants to run the football as much as they pass, if not more. And when you're down, was it 14-0 after the first 2 possessions from the Saints? 7 minutes into the game. Oh, bleep. We have to tear up the entire game script because, or we have to stick with it almost stubbornly because we have a rookie quarterback that we're trying to protect.
And that's what they do, Nick. I say every game, I say, okay, so Arthur Smith, when is he going to reach the F it? We're just going to run the ball portion of the game. And they get back into it. And, we try and start off balanced. And it's like, okay, we don't have the weapons for a passing game right now. Now, F it. Let's just run it. And they can. That's the thing is that worked against, 14-0. Hell, that was nothing compared to the Bengals game. And they got back into it with one score after, coming out early. And Joe comes in. He says, I was kind of content. All in all, Riddle had 125 all-purpose yards and no turnovers, and he showed a great connection with London. The other part of this, Nick, is in the 2-minute drill, I felt like this team's got a chance. He can move the ball through the air with his arm. Again, Olamide Zaccheaus, God bless him, is a 3 or 4. Drake London is a rookie, a talented rookie, but still a rookie. Damiere Byrd, Kadero Hodge, these guys, you want to upgrade these positions. You do. You want another big weapon coming in on offense, and then some experience with your quarterback. But I felt when I was watching them move the ball down the field, especially in the 2-minute drill, I'm like, okay, there's a quarterback there that can make these throws. They've got a chance, and they did. They were right there set up for a game-tying field goal, and unfortunately, learning moment. Now's the time to learn it. I'd rather have Drake London do it now at 5-9 than, at 11-5, when it matters, or a playoff game. Drake London, catch the ball, secure it. You're in field goal range. Get down, kid. So learning moment. But I felt pretty good. Ryan Adonis says, incoming Sean Payton 2023. Number 5 overall pick might do that to the Saints. You want to send that one to the Saints? I think they need it because they sent theirs to Philly. Is that who has their?
Yes, they traded up for Chris Olave. What a stupid move, trading for a wide receiver. Chris Olave is great, but you need your picks if you're the Saints. So you should be thankful that the Saints did that because they are in a really bad rebuilding spot.
So do they trade? What did they give up to get Olave? Because Olave looks like a star, and that's. Okay, if you're saying I'm going to give up a top 10 pick for Olave, I'm like, okay, so they must have given up something else.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what it was, if they had sent a safety, or I couldn't remember what that trade was. But Ryan, it'll cost you're sending the Saints some picks. But boy, wouldn't that be. You want to talk about spicing up this rivalry a little bit? Sean Payton is not a very popular man in Atlanta until he would put on red and black, and then he'd be loved. Fans will forgive just about anything if they're wearing their own colors. And Aiden come in. Welcome, Aiden. Appreciate you coming in. All the stuff you do for allfalcons.com. Says, in the beginning, it looked like Ritter was trying to be the guy and then realized his role and settled down. It's understandable. I was driving home from a baseball tournament, and my friend texted me. He goes, hey, where was Jackson? Perfect game, clocks every pitch. And which is kind of cool for 10-year-olds. No, this is 13U. So where do they have Jackson? Because I subscribe to that because I keep up with that stuff. And I said, well, he was 67 to the first batter and then pretty much 64 after that. I mean, We're talking about kids versus a professional, but you're right. The point is, it's natural to be amped up, when you first get started and try and do that. And listening to the game, Dave Archer said, that first play to Cordell Patterson trying to go down long, it wasn't a great route. He didn't get a lot of help. And that's where you need a little bit more at the receiver position. Cordell Patterson, as much as we love him, was not a successful number 1 wide receiver in this league. He's been a very successful X factor running back, put him in the slot, kick returner, do all kinds of stuff with him, but not a true X, despite the fact that's how the Falcons beat the Saints last year, was on a similar type of play.
Yeah, this again, and I don't know how much to take away from this game from Ritter because the game script and what they wanted to do protecting him almost went out the window pretty darn quickly. from the flow of the game, trying to play the drop back pass game, the lack of weapons there. I mean, you just don't have any dynamism in the boundary right now. I guess you can kind of say Drake London, but in this game, what is 11 targets, 7 receptions, but a long of 12? I mean, average of 10. So every single one was about in the same intermediate. You can build on that because those intermediates are hard to hit. But I'm going to have a hard time, and I'll go back and watch it again, but I feel like I'm going to have a hard time taking too much away from this game from Ritter. I feel like we didn't learn very much at all, which is unfortunate because this is a team that is on a bleep or get off the pot kind of situation with quarterback this draft cycle.
3 more games, though. What I learned from him, and Arthur Smith basically said the same thing. What'd you learn? He said, I learned the moment isn't too big for him. He wasn't out there like this. He was in charge out there. He was composed. Poised, not composed. Composed and poised out there for the most part. He did well in the pocket. And on his athleticism, we've talked about him as a runner. Good morning, Chris. Thank you for coming in. He says, good morning, everyone. Nice to see a glimpse of the future at quarterback. Maybe. We'll see. But when we talk about, I think he was like a 4.48, maybe a 4.52 at the combine, something along those lines. He is a long, easy strider. You can see he doesn't have that lateral quick twitch back and forth, but when he escapes the pocket, he runs so easy that he's got the ball in a throwing position and he's still completely under control while linebackers, edges, and interior linemen are not catching him. That is going to be a weapon because he scrambled for a couple of nice first downs, but he's making it, he's not having to tuck and run and take off, and he's leaving himself options. I think that's going to be very interesting to watch as he develops the broken play, the extended play.
Yeah, and you talking about that athleticism, 4 sacks, which isn't great, and that's kind of also the trying to go through options that aren't really open when you only have Drake London out there as a plus pass catcher, but 4 sacks for only -8 yards. I mean, I know nobody wants to have the sacks out there. It's a bad stat to have, but that's something to speak of too. If you're going to don't make a bad play, a catastrophic play. I think that's something that we so underrate with these athletic quarterbacks.
And he steps up, he'd step up and kind of just tuck. And one of those sacks was when he was lined up as a wide receiver on a reverse.
And he can't throw it away on that one. Yeah.
And if I never see Felipe Franks take another snap in anything other than a victory position, it'll be too soon.
Yep.
So scrap it. I don't want to see it ever again. And can I get an amen from the congregation on a Monday morning? Hey, he says, good morning, fellas and fellow birds. And one of my classmates, Jay, was a year behind me at Pope, but we were at Pope High School together. One hell of an inside linebacker. You want to talk about strong and nasty? This was Jay Gribben. So, Jay, welcome in, my friend. It is good to see you. Keeping it all in the family here. There's Papa Kennedy coming in. He says, good morning, gentlemen. And Michael Corietti comes in on Facebook. He says something similar to what we've said. Too many deep shots for a guy that hasn't had the timing to develop timing. And Michael, the deep shots really aren't about timing, because that one's just throw it and get it. The timing are on the slant routes and the out routes where you're throwing before the guy comes out of his breaks. That's where the timing really is. But they're low percentage shots, especially with this group of wide receivers. They're low percentage. And when you find yourself in low percentage, you're finding yourself in what, Nick? 3rd and long. A lot.
Yep. And one thing, I mean, we have a small sample size. So the Falcons for this quarterback evaluation probably do need to lean a little bit on, not even a little bit, have to lean on priors as well. Like, what was Desmond Ridder in college? And the deep ball, he has a fine arm, but the deep ball accuracy has always been a question mark with him at Cincinnati. I mean, I think you were down at the Senior Bowl and we see Alec Pierce out there running 9 routes and chasing the ball. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a height, weight, speed dude. And it's like, wait a second. He played at Cincinnati with a potential first-round quarterback and we didn't see that. There's something maybe to watch for Desmond Ridder. Maybe he doesn't have that club in his, what do you call it? His bag.
Yeah.
Yes,
or have it in his locker. We'll see. I mean, he's got the arm strength on there. And again, a lot of it, you don't have to be uber accurate on deep balls.
It's a touch. It's a feel.
Yeah. It's just, it's knowing when to throw it. And again, having a better group of wide receivers, and the running game should open that up. But, I don't have to necessarily respect the deep ball. I can cover most of those guys with one safety back. or frankly, I can just play man and run with them.
Mhm.
I'm not, I can commit 8 and
Cover
man
one.
up, and everybody else play underneath and keep everything in front of you. Michael Corietti, he did say that one. And then Ryan Adonis, he comes in, he says, I blame Smith for a lot of this because he should have started Ritter in the Bears game or the Steelers game. Which one was immediately after the Panthers game? That's the one he should have started for me. I think that was Bears. I think that's right after the Panthers game on a Thursday night. Basically, they call that a mini bye.
Mm-hmm.
That's the game. And I think part of the annoyance from, now that we've seen some of this, of in Arthur Smith's voice over Marcus Mariota, is that he wasn't getting all the information to make a decision, an informed decision. Now, you should have been able to see the play out there wasn't enough. That should be enough information that you can say, okay, listen, we're not going anywhere right now with Marcus Mariota. But Marcus Mariota masking a knee injury, which he is having surgery on and has ended his season. Miss me on this quit the team BS. He was playing through a knee injury and went and hadn't been a problem so far that he told you of, coach. But he's having knee surgery, and I think that should be part of his annoyance. And he has every right to be upset if he's not getting information from his team. But you kind of expect, Nick, a player that's basically on a 1-year deal fighting for his job. No good. I'm good, coach. I'm good. He might not say that, but I would have liked to have seen Desmond Ridder come in and playing after the Panthers game.
Yeah, we talked about that a good bit also, especially against a absolutely horrible Bears defense. I mean, the Falcons defense has been frustrating this season. Watching this game too, it's like, man, they are so obviously missing dudes you need like 1 or 2 more dudes on the defensive line. Maybe Graham can come back and be one of those guys, but just difference makers up front. Probably, 2 up there. And that's, another thing to talk about with getting a potential top 10 pick. But as bad as this Falcons defense is, imagine it on its worst day, and it's still probably better than what the Bears have been since they traded Roquan Smith. And that would have been an easy get-right game for any quarterback to look good.
I would like to be able to flip-flop these birds that are coming up, the Ravens and the Cardinals, and face the Cardinals and their 6th, 7th, and 8th cornerbacks, as opposed to the Ravens defense in Baltimore, where the weather, he played in Cincinnati, but I'd rather have him playing against the Cardinals to get that one under his belt than facing the Ravens. And Eric comes in. Good morning, Eric. He says, to be fair, Ritter, the Aints secondary is pretty good. It is. No, I mean, I don't think we're being harsh on Ritter at all. He's a rookie quarterback who probably tried to do a little too much. And again, some of this reverse Felipe Franks nonsense, those are 2 plays that they're almost drive killers. You're at 2nd and 12, or you're at 3rd and long. All of a sudden, this team isn't built for 3rd and long. But you know what, Nick? What is a luxury? How many teams at 3rd and 4 on the team inside the red zone at the 15 can and will run it for first downs?
Yeah,
man. If you get this team right and the weapons on offense, and you can still do that, you're basically unstoppable in the red zone. And they turn that into a touchdown, just running it down their throats. That won't always play against better teams. And when the game's on the line, it's a tighter game, they'll stack that up to stop that. But okay, now I can go to Pitts, and now I can go to Drake London, my basketball player receivers out there, and get all of that working together. But I need some more experience from my quarterback. I do.
Yeah, no doubt. And before we start to wrap it on up here, we got Chris first. Also talking about the Saints secondary, they were missing Marshawn Lattimore, so I don't know if it's not the unit that it has been in the years past.
But Alontae Taylor played out of his skull, and they only needed one guy to cover London, and that was it.
Yeah, you remember how much I loved him in the draft? God, that was my dude out of Tennessee. Him and Cam Taylor-Britt have both been looking amazing. Chris Walker coming in saying kind of hamstrung with the lack of weapons at wide receiver, and Pitts is hurt. No doubt about that. It's hard to get the evaluation. Also, again, I don't think Ritter is a guy you ever want to be in a pure drop back. We have to throw the football without the cover of play action kind of quarterback. That's just not, especially not right now in his first start. So once it was 14-0, it was like, what are we even going to get evaluation wise from him? Dude did like the rapport between him and Drake London. Hopefully this is a game next week where, I don't know if we'll talk about it here in a second, but the Cardinals lost their backup quarterback and run their third string, who looked horrible. This might be a game where you can play with the lead and just, cruise control and kind of play off that and build some confidence coming up against the Cardinals here. And I saw that Joe talking about down here as well, saying we're slated to have the 7th pick. Can you move up if the Rams win tonight? Looking at it on Tankathon, unless the strength of schedule changes massively.
Drastically. Yeah, you should move up.
Yeah, you should be able to move up with a Rams victory over the Packers, and we'll both be pulling for that. That being said, I am kind of skeptical that you will stay in that area because this is you're playing an absolutely horrific Cardinals team. What is it in 2 weeks? Excuse me, not next week, but in 2 weeks.
You like I said last week when McShay's mock came out, and you see what happens when I talk up McShay, try and give him any benefit of the doubt. He ends up sounding like an idiot talking about Jalen Carter and getting just dragged. I was like, Nick and I were talking off the Huskies. You went to a big football school. I did too. I went to Auburn. I knew who the guys were that were character problems on the football team because they're the ones that are out at the bars and the clubs starting fights, coming to fraternity parties and starting fights. And we all know this stuff. Jalen Carter, all he had was, and this was before social media. All he had was teammates and classmates and, people at Georgia saying this dude's full of beans. Anyway, Joe, yes, should get a good pick and an impact player. And as I wanted to get to Candler's comment here, because he appreciates you coming in, Candler. He says, good morning, guys. Ritter's going to be fine. It was his first real start. Not even real start. It was his first start, period. He needs more time and he needs more weapons. Absolutely. And I was pleased with what I saw as far as the poise and the composure and the leadership, all of that stuff.
Yep.
The athleticism, all good. The results, I wasn't expecting much. Let's be honest.
And just credit them real quick. The 4th down throw to Drake London that was fumbled. I mean, that was a big time throw that you had to have, and he made it. And you can't do anything
in a 2-minute drill.
In a 2-minute drill. Yep.
Yeah, in a 2-minute drill. And he was moving the ball right down the field, 21-18. And, extending plays with his legs. I liked what I saw. I was pleased.
Yep.
I'm not willing to say, okay, we're quarterbacks off the table moving to 2023, but I like what I saw. But growth and development is all we should be looking for. No matter what, defense should be our priority in the first round. Thoughts? I don't say no matter what. It depends on, just like the Kyle Pitts draft, there wasn't a pass rusher available. If there was a pass rusher available, if Aiden Hutchinson or Trayvon Walker or Kayvon Thibodeau were in that previous draft, they'd be Atlanta Falcons and not Kyle Pitts. So I won't say no matter what, because if Caleb McGarry signs a deal somewhere else, you need an offensive tackle. You're going to need another one. And if that's the way to go, if a player like Penny Sewell is available in that spot, that's who I said. From a position player, Nick, I said trade down Justin Fields, Penny Sewell, trade down. Those were my top 4 picks at the number 4 spot. But Candler, the priority for this team in the offseason is defense. That's where they have the most holes. They need 2 interior linemen. They need another fire-breathing edge because Arnold Ebiketie is a rookie. He's good. He's not. I don't know that he's ever going to be a TJ Watt 15 sack guy. He can be a good player for you. You need another corner opposite AJ Terrell because Casey Hayward's an older guy. He's a bridge guy. I'm not convinced you don't need another safety. So when I've got Timmy Horn and Jaleel Johnson and Ade Ogundeji out there in crunch time, I'm hurting. With Armstrong, I don't even know Corliss Armstrong. I'm not even sure what his first name is. He was playing cornerback too. I need help on defense in a big way. I will not go as far as to say no matter what with the first pick. Yeah.
And AE is right. You could have had Parsons. In hindsight, that's true. There's a lot of character concerns with Parsons coming out with sexual assaults of teammates, physical assaults. I mean, whatever you want to say, there were some pretty egregious accusations there, and I have it on pretty good authority. He was off on a lot of teams' boards. Now, he's been good so far in the NFL, but he probably would have been a top 6, top 7 pick if it wasn't for the off-field incidences that he had, plural. So that's one to think about. And I will be remiss if we don't mention it here before we get on out. My guy, one of my favorite picks of the Falcons last year, when you drafted him, you teed it up to me, Nick, you've been screaming this guy all season. Yeah. Tyler Algier, man, welcome to the league. What a hard runner, man, that guy is. And shout out also to the other rookie, that big run that he had does not happen if you don't have Drake London out there burying a cornerback into the shadow realm. And it was beautiful. He had a great game. That 2-point conversion was beautiful. What an attitude, a physicality that he brings. Never going to be explosive. You probably want to have him in tandem, but damn, he is a fine player to get in a 5th round pick too. God, what a great player.
Yeah, great pick. And AE, I wrote it up because the Falcons had the number 4 pick on Micah Parsons. I said that Micah Parsons at his pro day, I said he may have run himself into the top 5. That's good for the Falcons. I don't know that you necessarily want to take him because at the time you're looking at Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun. I'm like, they're actually fairly set at linebacker because nobody was really talking about him at edge at that point. But again, I'm not going to grade this one in hindsight. I said he probably could have been a top 5. I was not advocating for that pick in the top 5 just because of where the Falcons were on defense. If you need an edge, if you'd known he was going to be that type of pass rusher, I would have taken him in a heartbeat. But my picks, like I said, I don't grade in hindsight. My picks at the time were trade down, Justin Fields, Penny Sewell, trade down. I did not want a pass catcher because this team was going to be too uncertain at quarterback and offensive line for the next 3 seasons, which is true. Albert Knopper's coming in. Albert, good morning, y'all. Good morning, Albert. We'll probably see you over on Broncos for Breakfast here shortly to talk some Denver Broncos. And Jason L coming in also. He says, I think Ritter is better at tossing to the running backs, hence the season high 40 yards for Tyler. I just think that's a factor of where this team is on offense right now. You've got good mobile offensive linemen who can work the screen passes and work the underneath game. And you've got wide receivers who don't stretch the field and aren't really scary in space either. Yeah. So that ended up being the way to go. But on that note, we're quick on Mondays because we've got some other stuff we're going to do. And let's just throw what Rich has to say before we go because he's agreeing with you, Nick. He says, good morning, guys. Tyler Algier is a beast. Ritter did okay considering his first NFL start. I think he will get better as the season goes on. Rise up. I agree with you, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play these last 3 games and growing. My only fantasy football wish out of it was I wish Kyle Pitts was out there with him too. I wish Kyle was out there available for him too. But Nick, we're going to get out of here. We're going to hop on over to Mile High Huddle on YouTube to talk a little Broncos Cardinals. And Falcons fans, the Falcons play the Cardinals in the 2 weeks. So if you want to hear us drag the Cardinals for 45 minutes, come on over to Mile High Huddle on YouTube and join us this morning. And we're going to talk some more football. On that note, we're going to get out of here and we will see you Wednesday morning. I will see you Wednesday morning. Nick is on location and I will see you Wednesday morning and we'll do a little preview, some Ravens. We'll do some team building, roster breakdown, et cetera, et cetera. So until then, appreciate y'all being here and we'll see you next time.
Happy holidays.